Hello and welcome. It's another weekend and we are back with the program Abuja Live. This is a mixture of politics, human angle stories, entertainment, lifestyle, and sports. So take a moment, relax, as we ride you through the show today. I am Ademola Lawrence.
And I am Abidat Lawal.
Interesting, and we are live in Abuja across the northern state where TVC News is monitoring developments across the region. Now let's tell you that the Republic of Niger will heave a sigh of relief in the coming days as ECOWAS says it has lifted the economic sanctions placed on the West African country.
Now the regional bloc hinges the decision on humanitarian grounds but wants the transition authority to release President Bazoum and provide an acceptable transition timetable. As it stands now, election in the ECOWAS sub-region cost the body about $1 million per country, and that's according to the president of the commission, Moya Thomas, report.
As ECOWAS makes effort to consolidate and solidify the cooperation in the region in the face of the many political challenges, the regional body, ECOWAS, says it is important to recognize the advantages the bloc has recorded since inception.
Over the last 49 years, the community has been able to unite the 15 nations of the region around our common objectives of socio-economic development through regional integration. As captured in Article 3 of the ECOWAS revised treaty, member states have committed themselves to the promotion of integration with the hope that it will lead to the establishment of an economic union in West Africa in order to raise the standard of living of its people.
He says substantive progress has been recorded on its objectives on free movement of people, goods and services, and right of community citizens to reside and establish within the community, among several others, where over 3,000 companies have benefited. He clarifies that despite the free movement, levies charged by some communities still exist. On effort to strengthen democracy, Mr. Toure says ECOWAS gives a grant of $500,000 to election umpires of each member country as support, including sending observers.
As you all recall, ECOWAS is one of the major partners of ECOWAS member states in terms of during elections in particular. And ECOWAS spends on average $1 million supporting member states.
ECOWAS is made up of three arms in its governance structure, which are the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. For the judiciary, which is the ECOWAS Court of Justice, the president says his ruling is binding on all member states and individuals that are community citizens. President of the ECOWAS Commission clarifies that ECOWAS is standing by the April 2nd date given by the President of Senegal, Macky Sall, to leave office. Also on Niger, he says that there is need for more time to get an update from the transition government as regards the lifting of the sanctions on Niger. Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
Paul Ejime is a global affairs analyst and he joins us live in the studio for more on ECOWAS. Welcome. And now with the ECOWAS lifting of sanctions of the junta, do you think this is something that could weaken the ECOWAS?
Thank you, Abidat, and thank you, Demola. And good morning, ECOWAS citizens. ECOWAS really is in a difficult situation at the moment. But let's not forget that this is also a regional economic community that has been very far ahead of all the others. Africa has 8, but ECOWAS has been the trailblazer. And it is because when you are at the top, remaining there is very difficult. And when you are walking, that's when people also want you to do more. So ECOWAS should not lower the standard. What is happening is that lifting the sanctions came out of a lot of consultation, and the fact flowing from the decisions that preceded it. Remember, ECOWAS talked about using military force, and then the sanctions came in. but those were not very well coordinated, I must tell you. Because this is the same ECOWAS that has seen something like this. This is not the first coup in the region. Even in Niger, there have been several other places. So it is just the strategic management, conflict management that is, and then crisis communication. That's another thing that has failed here. It will not weaken ECOWAS if they still get the vibe back, if they rediscover those strategies that they were using to get things going. So it can work. It has worked before. So what it takes now, what has been lacking, Abidat, is leadership, both at the national, the regional, and continental level. That is what ECOWAS is now suffering from. And then institutional level, there is what I call, and many partners have observed that, lack of institutional capacity. And then the heads of state, the buck stops on their table. They are the ones calling the shots. They have to also speak to themselves, do some self-reality check. Are they doing the right thing? Because there are protocols that everybody must comply with. Are they complying with that? Why are they tinkering with the national constitution? Why are they rigging elections? Why are they having problems with electoral issues? These are human rights. You find in some places there are people who are in jail, opposition. There is no the space, democratic space for alternative view has been is shrunk. Just because and then impunity. So all these have to give way if ECOWAS really wants to bounce back, and they can if it takes leadership to do that, and it comes from the leaders themselves, the ECOWAS, each and every one of them, from national to regional level.
So you've hinged on a lot of things. You spoke about crisis communications, leadership, institutional leadership, protocols, human rights. So I want to ask this question in terms of, is it coming from both hands, from ECOWAS and the military junta in Niger, for example? Do you think that transition authority can relieve power, back to the people? Do you think that can happen?
I think they stand a better chance to answer that. And that will test their sincerity. Are they really there to hang on to power? Or are they there because of what they claim that they are there because of the people? Because if they are there because of the people, why would the person, Assimi Goita, Colonel Goita, in Mali, not provide a reasonable transition since 2020? That is 4 years, almost a term for an elected government. So the fault, I would say, is both with the ECOWAS leadership and then with this military. I think let us not deal with what I call political adventurists and then military adventurists. For the military to show that they are not opportunistic, they really have to come, listen to their people, and then give them what they want and go back to the barracks. And then for the ECOWAS leaders, let them govern and let the people feel the impact of governance. What are they? You have, food on your table, you have infrastructure, you have hospital services, you have, economic development, and then education. These are the things, the basics. Look at the hardship that the people are going through across the world, but we do not have to do that in ECOWAS. But God has blessed this region with everything with gold, diamond, uranium, oil, everything. But it is just the management. ECOWAS region is not poor. For the more than 400 million people, the community is not poor, but they are poorly managed.
Now, another problem seems to be brewing in another ECOWAS country, which is Senegal. And do you think this problem could cause an implosion or another military coup?
Well, if you need to nip some of these things in the bud if you don't. But look at Senegal, that has been the anchor for stability. Suddenly, now going down this hill. It is because of this lack of leadership. Because when the president there sacked the members of the Electoral Commission some months to the election, nothing happened. Now he has changed he wants to postpone the date of election. And then people are ECOWAS has said, okay, please respect the calendar, electoral calendar, and then the constitution. But they have to come hard. I hear that the president was, pillaring ECOWAS at the last summit, telling them that they are not activists or social society organization. But this is the same person, the same Macky Sall, that prevented the former president of Senegal, President Abdoulaye Wade, from having a third term. He came out. He was one of the nemesis. Now from the beginning, he said he wasn't going to run. Now he wants to postpone, to add 10 months. How many months? Now he's calling for dialogue. And then the candidates, or most of them, boycotted that. Now let the Constitutional Council come out with something that will be acceptable to the people of Senegal and then the people of ECOWAS. And unless and until ECOWAS I thought that ECOWAS will use this as, an opportunity to stamp its foot down and then correct what it has done, what it didn't do well in these 4 countries that the 3 of them are trying now to leave. By saying, listen, let us be principled, maintain the principled stance, and then zero tolerance for unconstitutional change of government is not only when the military strikes. Civilians are doing it. When you now begin to, tinker with the constitution, these are also political and constitutional coups that are as dangerous as military coups.
As we just round up, I just wanted to, do you think that, because majority of all these coups happens in the French colonies, you talk about the Senegal, Niger, Mali, and the likes. Do you think it's a case of where they are trying to get away from the lion's mouth and trying to say, anything that has to do with the French colonies, paying tribute back to them is what they actually want to do, and they needed ECOWAS to back them up with it? So is it a case of where ECOWAS is also playing 2-leg, or they just need to stand their ground? Let
me unpack that. There is growing anti-French sentiment. And let's give it's not by these military people that are, it is by the ordinary people. They are the ones that are kicking against both the French and then their leaders, because their leaders have always been in cahoots with France.
Yes.
So, which France has not covered itself in glory in the way it has managed its former colonies. But it's not, you can't replace that with, high-handedness or authoritarian or, dictatorship. You have to follow due process. Now, ECOWAS is not a policeman that will go there and then begin to do, because some of these, the accords that these people, agreements that these people signed during independence were signed even before ECOWAS was set up. So let us not blame ECOWAS for everything. Some of these countries have their own, large share of blame to take. But ECOWAS, being, a body that was set up to coordinate and then facilitate regional integration, should also, it has the protocols. That's where the protocols come in, where these countries have all signed up to. Let them live by what they have signed up to, by the agreements, by the protocols. What do they call it? To pick and choose when it pleases them. It is a rule of the thumb for everything. When you, because many of these countries have benefited from ECOWAS. They need ECOWAS more than ECOWAS needs them. But ECOWAS should also not constitute itself into what is it called? A toothless bulldog by not biting, or only barking. It has done that before. In Niger, when former President Tangale wanted to dissolve the National Assembly, ECOWAS stood up. In Gambia, when former President Yahya Jammeh wanted to hold an election, ECOWAS sent a fact-finding mission and noticed that there was no level playing field. ECOWAS did not send observers and refused to recognize that the outcome of that election. These are some of the, they are hard, they are tough, but also the heads of state must allow the institution to function. Because technocrats at their level, they have their limitation. It is the heads of state, like I told you, the buck stops at their table. If they want ECOWAS to succeed, ECOWAS will succeed. But if they also want ECOWAS to fail, it is their call. But again, Nigeria also has to stand up. Because it is that lack. How can you imagine that a president, somewhere, will be telling the president of Nigeria or the chairman of the ECOWAS authority that wants to visit, that they should not come? I mean, what is that? That is an insult. Okay? But again, you will also look at how the chairman had to go there. These are some of the issues. Because you needed some strategic thinking. Here on the protocol, supplementary protocol for democracy and good government, there are tools that you can use. There is the good offices. There is the Council of the Wise. You can deploy. The chairman of the authority can send anybody. You don't need to go there. Because once you have used your last card, it's like you are playing your first 11. And then if they are defeated, you have nothing to fall back on. So those who are advising the chair of the authority, and then the leaders, they must have the critical thinking, knowledge, to know what instrument to use to get the effective and best outcome or result.
Interesting.
It's a lot of communications for the ECOWAS authority there, and the fact that there are lessons to be learned and places, there are rooms for improvement on the part of ECOWAS. Thank you very much, and Global Affairs Analyst Paul Ejime. Thank you,
Abida. Thank you, Demola. Thank you.
It is now official that President Bola Tinubu has ordered the full implementation of the Stephen Oronsaye report. But do you know that that report, if it is executed, several agencies of government would be merged, scrapped, or relocated?
Yes, the move is towards cutting the cost of governance. So in this next piece, TVC News correspondent Ayodele Ozungbangu walks us through the recommendations of the Stephen Oronsaye report.
Continue to lag behind.
In 2012, the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan set up the Presidential Committee on the Rationalization and Restructuring of Federal Parastatals, Commissions and Agencies. The committee was headed by a retired civil servant and former head of service of the Federation, Stephen Oronsaye.
And then there were statements that were subjective.
The committee recommended the scrapping and merging of 220 out of the 541 statutory and non-statutory agencies. The 800-page reports of the committee noted that the functions of most government parastatals and agencies are overlapping.
Of the original total contracts.
As such, the committee, in its report submitted in 2012, recommended the reduction of statutory government agencies from 263 to 161.
Participate in the global ICT age.
As part of its recommendations, the committee suggested abolishment of 38 agencies, merger of 52, and reversion of 12 to departments in the ministries.
Why there should be large differentials in salary.
In 2014, the committee on the white paper of the Oronsaye report submitted its own report. 12 years after the recommendations were made, 2 review committees, the federal government is set to implement the recommendations. President Tinubu ordered the implementation of the Oronsaye report at the Federal Executive Council meeting on Monday, 26th of February. According to the plan, numerous agencies will be scrapped, others combined or restructured to cut rising costs of governance.
It's a report that have been in place for almost a decade, if not more than. And the motive is was to streamline government expenditure, most especially in the in the area of cost and carrying out the responsibilities of government parastatals and agencies. Going by what this government stands for, which is prudence, accountability, and transparency in governance, it is important that the president, assess and probably set up a committee to look into how they can see a way of implementing, if not all the report, at least a good part of the report, so that Nigeria can move forward from there.
The government assured workers that will not affect jobs. To demonstrate its resolve, the administration has considered a committee to implement the report within 12 weeks. The committee will be headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume. The National Assembly is expected to play a crucial role in the implementation of the report, as the legal framework or enabling acts of some of the agencies need to be amended. TVC News, Abuja.
Now, in other news, let's tell you that the Minister of Petroleum Resources says the Obiafo-Obricom-Oben pipelines will be completed by March 2024. Upon completion, the 42,127 kilometer pipeline will supply 2 billion cubic feet daily.
Now, TVC News Ellen Osamede-Akins report that the pipelines will provide Ajokuta, Kaduna, Kano pipelines with gas. The report.
The piece of gas infrastructure for the supply of feedstock to the AKK pipeline. The pipeline is among Nigerian and Africa's biggest gas transition system. As Nigerian focus on revamping its gas economy, it says the OB3 pipeline will be completed by the first quarter of 2024.
I'm pleased to report that significant progress has been made in the realization of Decade of Gas vision. The official secretariat is now operational and fully functional. Another milestone is our journey towards a gas-focused economy in the Ajakuta Kaduna Kanu AKK pipeline. I am pleased to report that significant progress has been made in constructing this critical infrastructure project, and we are on track to ensure its completion and commissioning as scheduled.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited pledged to support Shell's exit from onshore oil production in the Niger Delta and focus on future investments in Nigeria on deep water.
It will facilitate any sale of assets in this country. We have no interest whatsoever to prevent any of our partners from taking down their position. We would have loved them to stay. And let me also be frontally open. If we have choice, we would like Shell and Exxon to stay in the assets. But that's not an option now. They would like to exit. And it is our job to facilitate that exit in a manner that will be mutually beneficial to both the exiting partners and also the incoming partners, and also for the NNPC Limited.
The gas sector is a cornerstone in navigating the challenges and opportunities presented by the new energy world order. Helen Osamede-Akins, TVC News, Abuja.
Now let's walk you through this sharing news, where the high cost of transportation in the federal capital city may soon drop. This is because the federal government has introduced a compressed natural gas buses in the city center.
And the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, acknowledges the positive result from the collaboration with private institution. Huloma Oyemachi reports.
In recent months, Nigeria's transportation system has been a source of concern, particularly after President Bola Tinubu removed fuel subsidy, and this was followed by economic hardship. However, it seems that the concerns of Nigerians are being addressed by a collaboration between the federal government and private transport organizations. In a noteworthy development, private transport services, Transport for All and Naragzi, after an official receipt of licensing to operate in Abuja in collaboration with the FCT administration, have introduced 40-seater buses powered by compressed natural gas.
I hereby commission the operation of these buses.
The Minister of the FCT, represented by the FCT Mandate Secretary for Transport, emphasized that the vision of both private institutions align with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda.
Every bit of this bus that we've seen is a product of careful planning, and good reasoning. From the point of acquisition, we as a secretariat have followed these buses through the seas to the port in Nigeria at Lagos, and from Lagos to Abuja. And we insisted that even the branding will have to be done where we have control.
The founders of the private transport services emphasized the distinct features of the vehicles, including free Wi-Fi. Furthermore, they underscored the importance of ensuring functional internet systems throughout Nigeria.
Nigeria is growing, our technological infrastructure is growing. Obviously, we want a situation where you could have better internet penetration, because most of these payment systems run on the internet, so payment infrastructure is there. We can also see the purchasing power of most Nigerians is also another key factor, because you could digitize your payment, you could have fantastic bus service, but you are not profitable.
Welcome. CNG buses have been launched at Nigeria's capital city. Here at the Eagle Square, over 40 buses are on display, promising hope to Nigerians at a subsidized rate for ease of movement in and around Abuja. Uloma Oyemachi, TVC News, Abuja.
And when Live from Abuja returns, we will be reviewing the 2023 presidential election, where President Bola Tinubu won 36.61% of the total vote cast. Stay with us for details after this break. Staying with us on the program, the bill to empower the National Assembly to summon the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, unbundle INEC, transition to parliamentary system, creation of state police, and gender bills to top the list of issues discussed at the 10th House of Representatives begins the 6th alteration to the 1999 Constitution as amended.
And of course, the Deputy Speaker and Chairman Special Committee on Constitutional Review, Benjamin Kalu, says the nation constitution must strengthen its democracy. We'll have the report. But of course, before we'll play you that report, we're joined live by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Johnson Usman is of course a senior advocate, and he joins us to talk about this constitutional review. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Johnson.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Okay, so first of all, let's look at this constitutional review. There's been a lot of talk, and the National Assembly has been in and out of it. One of which, of course, the journey to review all of the bills that has to do with constitutional review, especially the federal lawmakers. How far do you think that the National Assembly can go on this matter of constitutional review?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Okay, if you can hear me, Mr. Johnson, I'm saying that...
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
So if you can hear me, I'm saying that how far do you think that the National Assembly can go on the matter of constitutional review?
Well, constitutional review is a function of both the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly. It is not just like the ordinary bill that will pass through the House of Representatives and the Senate and then get as.
Hello, Mr. Johnson. Okay, so while we're trying to sort the technical issues out from Mr. Johnson's end, let's now take you through the package by Joke Adisa.
Since 2010, every National Assembly has had to amend the Constitution as a ground norm for the nation's operations. Lawmakers believe landmark legislations have been made since then as Nigerians crave for a more people-friendly constitution. Some of these landmark legislations include financial independence of the National Assembly, financial autonomy for state houses of assembly and the judiciary.
We cannot have a situation where we have just about 16 or 13 women in the House of Representatives and only 4 senators. This is not speaking well of Nigeria.
The 10th House of Representatives formally inaugurates its committee for the review of the Constitution as it engages with the citizens.
All members of the review committee to please rise for the inauguration.
Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the Special Committee says 44 bills are in the committee's kitty for deliberations. Bills on devolution of power, gender mainstreaming, state police, local government autonomy, and return to parliamentary system of government are some of them.
The Constitution Review Committee of the 10th National Assembly stands ready to embrace the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead, leveraging the power of technology, social media, and inclusive engagement. We will ensure that every voice is heard.
While some citizens argue that the document should be entirely discarded, it is important to remember that democratic consolidation can only be incremental and gradual.
The amendments we are set to deliberate upon carry the potential to shape our country's future.
From the state houses of assembly come words of support, particularly as it relates to bills on the nation's security.
I support a system of government in which several states unite under a central authority, but in which the states are empowered to address their own challenges and also be able to navigate its own destiny.
In the face of numerous challenges, this exercise marks the beginning of another round of efforts to further strengthen the foundations of the nation's democracy. The legislators are hopeful of getting active citizens' participation in order for Nigeria to have a truly people-oriented constitution. TVC News, Abuja.
Of course, that's of course the story from Jokadi's Constitutional Review. And we're back to our guest, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Johnson Usman. Mr. Johnson, thank you for joining us once again. I was actually asking you earlier on, how far do you think this Constitutional Review can be sustained by the National Assembly?
Thank you once again. Like I said earlier, that when it comes to constitutional amendment, it is not a function of the National Assembly alone. It is a function of both the National Assembly and the 36 state houses of assembly. What does it mean? Unlike the ordinary bill that can emanate from the House of Reps, go to Senate, get concurred, and then get assented to by the President, when it comes to constitutional amendment, it has to originate from the National Assembly and then go to the 36 states houses of assembly and also get the nod of at least 2/3 on each provision that is sought to be amended. Previously, we have had about 5 amendments which were successful, and in those processes, some of the provisions now that sought to be amended were rejected. I think time is up for some of those provisions to be concurred with by the state houses of assembly. So I think it's a positive step.
Now, the devolution of power remains one of the most contentious items that the National Assembly has failed to achieve in previous alteration. What is your take on this, sir?
Now, if I may ask, what is devolution of power? We have 3 tiers of government. We have the federal, the state, and the local government. The Constitution has specifically given powers to each of these governments. It is the abuse of the power that is a problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with the power as it is. So for me, I don't think there is any need to devolve powers to any other arm other than what they have. After the one they have, how far have they gone with it? Have they fared well with the powers that have been given to them by the Constitution? Now they are now clamoring for more powers. I don't believe and I don't subscribe to that.
So I wanted to ask, Should full local government fiscal autonomy, when we talk about that, and of course the full autonomy of the judiciary in the area of administration of justice and youth inclusiveness and governance be observed too when we're talking about this constitutional review?
Now, by Section 8 also, the local government is created by the Constitution and is given powers by the Constitution. Even the autonomy we are talking of, the Constitution has given autonomy, full autonomy to the local government. It is the implementation, the failure of the governors to allow the local government to function, that is a problem. And that is where we should look at. I'm not looking at any other thing, because enough powers have been given to the local government. If you look at our schedules, the local government have been given power to function. But the governors have failed, refused, and neglected to allow the local government to function as an entity, as an arm of government. That is where the problem is.
There have been different attempts by government to consider the alteration of this constitution. And is the process not too cumbersome?
I didn't get you, please.
Like their state assemblies have also considered the alteration of some parts of the constitution, and then now the National Assembly as well. Is the process not too cumbersome?
Yes, it is so, because the amendment of a constitution, like I said earlier, must involve every citizen represented by a member of the State House of Assembly, House of Reps, and the Senate. So for you to speak, for Nigeria to speak as one voice, then we must have our input generally. And that is why it is cumbersome and difficult to amend the constitution. But it's achievable, because the processes are clear. When it emanates from the National Assembly, it goes to the State House of Assembly, where we have the members of House of Assembly representing us at that level. At the moment they concur on any provision, it will be done. So I don't see it as too cumbersome. It is doable, it has been done, and it will still be done.
Okay, let me ask you this before my last question. I just want to ask you this. You as a constitutional lawyer, and as a constitution is a ground norm for everything that Nigeria does, what do you think is actually missing in the Nigerian constitution that needs to be reviewed going forward?
Let me correct one impression. I'm not a constitutional lawyer.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
There is nothing called a constitutional lawyer.
Okay.
Because if you say you are a constitutional lawyer, it means your practice is centered around only the constitution, which is not correct. I don't belong to that group that call themselves constitutional lawyer. Right. I am a Nigerian lawyer called to the Nigerian bar. So I practice every aspect of law that comes my way. So that is the first thing that I should correct. Now the next thing, some of the amendments sought to be done. I don't subscribe to them, while I subscribe to some. In terms of local government, for instance, local government elections to be conducted by INEC, I am being in full support. Because when you go to states, what you have in the state INEC, what they call the state INEC, is actually not the state INEC. Why did I say so? A day will be scheduled for an election to be conducted by the State Independent Electoral Commission. Before 12 noon, elections are already, the results are already out, declaring the party that is in power. That is not election. Therefore, I will subscribe to INEC conducting the local government election. Let the budget of INEC be increased and let them conduct the local government election. I don't subscribe to state police, even though some of my friends have been clamoring and say, no, it is time for state police. The question is the police we have now. How far have they gone? And you see, when a commissioner of police is posted to the state, the governor will pocket him. You have seen in several states, in several instances, where the commissioner of police is at the beck and call of a governor. That is a federal government appointee. Now, consider that commissioner of police being appointed by the governor. If he said, go and arrest Mr. Usman, the moment the commissioner of police fails to do that, he is removed. I don't subscribe to it. We can empower, let there be a synergy between the vigilante and the Nigerian police, civil defense, and all these other security agencies we have. And I believe they will work. I have seen in so many states where there are issues, and the police partner with the vigilante, and they work. So, giving us a state police, honestly, will lead to a doom for an opposition. I don't subscribe to some of those provisions.
Yes, sir. In what areas do you think the lawmakers should be focusing on and why?
The areas they should focus, like I mentioned, conducting the local government polls, local government election to be conducted by INEC, I am in full support. State police, I am not in support. Local government autonomy, I don't know what other autonomy we need for local government other than what we have. Why are we not concerned with the implementation? What is left to be given to local government? What is left? What autonomy is left to be given to local government? I don't think there is any. It is the implementation. The one we have, they implemented it. Are the governors ready to implement it? Will they implement it? No matter the amendment you do to a constitution, without an implementation, it amounts to nothing. We have good laws. The laws we have are enough for us. There are countries without constitution. They operate better than us. Why are we always concerned with amendment of constitution? Must we amend every issue? If I cough, you amend. The one we had, how have we failed? So I don't subscribe to all this incessant amendment. What I'm concerned with and what I'll crave the indulgence of our leaders to do is to implement the laws we have and not to continue amending the laws as if amendment is a cure to the problem. The cure lies with us. It lies with our leaders. Let them do the needful. Let them do the right thing. And they will be home and safe.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson Usman, the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for joining us on the show and, of course, reviewing on the topic Constitution Review. You are aware that before the February 25th, 2023 presidential election, many political pundits predicted a tight contest between the three main contenders. And of course, the poll came with all these elements.
Now, in this next report, TVC News political desk correspondent Ayodele Ozugbaku takes a review of this unique poll, where the winner, Bola Tinubu, won 36.61% of the total vote, having fulfilled the constitutional requirement to be declared winner.
Tinubu Bola Ahmed of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner.
In the build-up to the February 25th poll, the atmosphere was tensed, with supporters of main candidates throwing jabs at one another of their preferred candidates winning. Former Governor of Lagos State was the candidate of the All Progressive Congress. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar was the flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party, and former Governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, was the presidential hopeful of the Labour Party.
As always, we'll engage with stakeholders across the board to ensure a more participatory approach so that the exercise is seamless.
The electoral umpire, against all odds to postpone the exercise, shocked many by standing with the February 25th date. As expected, the exercise was not without challenges, especially with the deployed equipment, with IRF temporarily set aside, resulting to the manual collation signed by party agents.
And the few challenges that we are facing and the steps that we have taken to address those challenges is the currency issue. And again, we had an engagement yesterday with the governor of the central bank.
In its recently released report, INEC insists that the exercise showcases the unparalleled diversity
following the successful
in party representation, demonstrating significant democratic progress. At the presidential poll, the three candidates had the highest votes in 12 states each, including Abuja, while NNPP's Senator Rabiu Musa Kwakwaso had the highest votes in Kano. This election generally saw 4 political parties winning gubernatorial races, 7 parties winning the senatorial seats, 8 in the federal constituencies, and 9 in state legislatures, illustrating a broad shift in the political representation across Nigeria.
Anybody will come, he go say, he don't go bank, stand tight, then they will give money.
No thanks to the Naira crunch, which almost marred the process and could have altered the scheduled dates, but INEC was resolute that the dates are sacrosanct, unlike in the past, where dates were changed even few hours to the dates.
If the paper is messed up, what do you think?
While some political analysts and politicians disagree with INEC scoring itself high, the Commission may yet boast that the overwhelming outcome of the courts validating the election, especially in the governorship poll, is a full proof of the process credibility. Ayodele Uzubako, TVC News, Abuja.
As we, of course, begin to round off the show, let's take a break now. While we come back, we'll have more for you in entertainment and sport. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Interesting one there. Let's now tell you about some important dates in March. And of course, first March is of course the Discrimination Day, celebrated globally so that everyone can live with dignity regardless of age, gender, ethnicity, skin color, height, and weight. Interesting. And of course, the 3rd of March is World Hearing Day, and it's observed to raise awareness on how to prevent deafness and promote hearing across the world. 4th of March, they say Employee Appreciation Day, and it reminds us that for any successful business, it is important to have a strong employer-employee relationship. Abida.
And the 8th of March is International Women's Day. This day is observed globally to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievement of women. And the 13th of March is No Smoking Day. The No Smoking Day is observed to raise awareness on the harmful health effects of tobacco via smoking and to encourage people around the world to quit smoking. And the 20th of March is International Day of Happiness. The United Nations celebrates this day to recognize the importance of happiness in the lives of people around the world. And the 20th of March is World Oral Health Day. World Oral Health Day raises awareness about oral health. So be proud of your mouth. Interesting.
But which one strikes it for you?
I think a couple of days strikes it for me because it's most of it are not considered serious in this part of the world.
I think the one that really marks it for me is March 4th, Employee Appreciation Day.
Concerns both of us.
Interesting. Okay, Abida.
And the fading away along with these languages and historical facts are also not left out considering the indigenous languages.
To preserve their culture and teach the next generation their history once a year, the Tangale people of Gombes went up their ancestral hill to showcase their culture. TVC Lanre Adeyemi joined them in this year's exercise.
Gathered at the foot of this mountain range is the Tangale people. They come together once every year to climb this mountain to preserve the tradition and remind themselves of their origin. The Tangale people are believed to have originated from Yemen in the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula. They migrated west, then south, settling in about 6 places in North Africa before settling on this flat hilltop. The location offered a vintage position and strategic advantage in wartime. The traditional ruler of one of the Tangale kingdoms, the Mai Kaltungo, Engineer Salim Muhammadu, established the mountain climbing festival 7 years ago.
This very one is only meant for youths and children. The whole essence is so that they can grow up knowing their identity, knowing their culture, and knowing where they belong. And we want to implant discipline into them right from the early age. So they will know that our people are very peaceful people. We have our culture, we follow what our ancestors have told us to do.
Our ancestors were so pure. The neighboring, the kinship pattern of existence was there. People care for the other, no cheating, no theft, no prostitution, no hard drug. Society was free. In that place, as I am telling you, it was a free society. People care for the other.
On the flat mountain top, the Mai leads his people to visit the legendary hole of the ancestral python. Legend has it that the python gave protection to children of the Tangale people when their parents go farming or to war. Just a few relics from the past remains. Then came the traditional dancing. Presentation of food and the payment of homage, all to show the younger generation the Tangale culture of respect, loyalty and hard work.
When I have my own children, I will bring them to this place and I will teach them the cultural dance.
I learned something. I don't know how to cook, but I learned how to cook our tribal food.
We talk about unity, we talk about security is concerned here, and most important thing is the way we live.
The Tangale people have embraced Western culture, but they are still determined to maintain their traditions and sustain their rich heritage. By getting their children involved early, they hope not to only preserve their culture, but also save their language from going into extinction. In this age, where children know little about their history and traditions, it may become necessary for other ethnic groups to take a leave from the Tangale people. Larry Adiemi, TVC News, Kautongo, Gombe State.
All right, welcome back. And of course, we're joined by our sports correspondent talking about Jane. Jane, it's nice to have you.
Well, thank you very much, Demola and Abidat. It's great to be here this morning, waking up to all the great things happening in sports.
Tell us what's happening.
Well, of course, let's start with the former tennis number one, Andy Murray, hopes to compete in another Olympic Games before he retires. The 36-year-old Great Britain's player on Monday hinted that he may only have a few months left in his playing career. Now, Murray won gold in the men's singles at London 2012 and Rio 2016, but he's hopeful for another shot at glory in the Olympics. The three-time Grand Slam champion ranks his gold medal from 2012 when he defeated Roger Federer in the final as the top achievement in his career. The 2024 Paris Olympics starts on 24 July, less than 2 weeks after the end of Wimbledon, which will run from 1st July to 14th July. And away from tennis, the Nigeria Super Falcons held their opponents, the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon, to a barren draw in Douala last week Friday and needed a win to advance to the final round of the Africa Olympics qualifiers. In the return leg, Estelle Koronko scored the Falcons' winner in the 14th minute. Although the Super Falcons could not add another goal in the entire 90 minutes and extra time, Coach Randy Waldrum says he's pleased with the team's 1-0 victory. The next game in the qualification series for the Super Falcons will be against South Africa's senior women's team in the final rounds coming up in April. Well, of course, yeah, that and other things that happened in the match with the Super Falcons champ drama against Cameroon, and Jose Persero, the Super Eagles coach, leaving his role also. But thank you guys for having me.
Thank you very much, Jane, for
do you think he's talk about superstition?
Interesting. Of course, that is our program for today. Join us next week as we bring you stories happening in politics, human angle stories, entertainment, sports, and lifestyle. I am Ademola Lawrence.
And I am Habidat Lawal. See you next week. Talk about voodoo. Who believes that?